So Open really only set in the hype yesterday. With how many shares being traded? 1.8 billion shares. Now, obviously, again, right, it's not sustainable for us to have that amount of shares every single day. It's not. So today, but still, it's very impressive staying at 1 billion shares. Now, because of this, all right, there was a lot of tickers, right? There's a lot of tickers getting that momentum move from um this move on Open. Now let me ask you guys this, okay? Technical analysis, like I always say, right? You can draw flag patterns. You can draw all these kind of patterns in every single ticker that you see. It's fine. You can draw it. Okay, but you see, if you're drawing it on the wrong ticker, right? Like you see, for example, we have the downtrend breakout over here in the 5 minute or even a 10 minute, right? You see, but you see, it doesn't really amount to anything. You know what I mean? Right? It doesn't really amount to anything, right? Because there is just too much volume sitting inside this high flow interest place. And it's not just KSS, okay? It's not just KSS. I'm not too sure if you guys even know, but let me show you guys this, right? FFAI was one that ran today. Look at the short interest or short flow, 27%. Now this data is not accurate, right? Dilution tracker is the best, but this works good enough, right? It will somewhat tell you that okay, this has a high short interest. Look at FFAI today. I mean, look, sure, there's not much continuation moves right now, but it went from $2 to 3.19, right? And obviously, Open doesn't really have that similar move because that move was already made yesterday, right? Which triggered the algorithms to be pushing these high short interest stocks. Because this is not new anymore. This thing has already made this move. Right now, we're getting that sympathies coming in. Like how you guys always see, small cap stock when we have a treasury Bitcoin run. What happens after? All the fucking companies, right? Even the biomedical companies, the biotech companies starts dropping treasury news as well. But they become not so sustainable. You know what I mean, right? We take MEIP for example. You guys remember that, right? It's a nice news pop, but you see it becomes not so sustainable anymore, right? Same thing for KWM, right? At first it was SBAT, it was BMNR, and then KWM started to always do that, right? But you can see it's not sustainable, right? Every single time this thing drops the news, it goes all the way back down, right? Every single time it drops news, it goes all the way back down. Right, but this is just how sympathy works, right? How an algorithm changes the theme of the market. It's the same thing, right? Open triggered that short interest movers. So today we have a lot of them, right? Now look, KSS, right? You wonder KSS is a high, short interest ticker. It is 49%. But why do you guys think I played PLCE? Why do you guys think I picked PLCE? Why? It's because it's pretty fucking high too, right? It's pretty high too, right? Not only that, we talk about Lucid, right? Lucid is also running today, isn't it? Right? Lucid is also running today, right? You see, we don't talk about whatever happened. We'll talk about today's action. You consider this a run, considering the fact that this ticker was, trades like a fucking toothbrush. Okay, this is a pretty nice move today. And you want to look at Lucid's short float based on the Finviz. It's in the red as well, right? Tickers that are not high, right, is going to be, we take I know DFLI is not high. You can see it's not going to be highlighted red, right? You can see 1.9%. It's not highlighted red, right? It's only because DFLI does have a lot of volume itself, right? So it is still making some type of moves, but you're also competing with a lot of other tickers that short float this from the day, and that is just not something that is going to make it very difficult for, again, focus on one stock to have a nice move. You understand? So that's the reason why, right? Technical analysis, I keep saying, right? Technical analysis really encompasses one thing. But you see, if you're performing it on the wrong ticker, your technical analysis is going to do nothing for you because the theme is clearly spread it across the board, right? And mostly in the high short interest stock because of Open. Okay, you can look for continuation moves potentially, but you can see they're not gonna give you much of any sort of movement, right? So that's the reason why. And Zeus is not, by the way. Zeus is not. I just wanted to see whether we can get a nice little quick push to 235. We got the moves at 231, but nothing happened. So I closed the rest at 217, 216, right? But you can clearly see, right? the only ones that are actually doing some sort of action is this. And not only this, we there was another ticker today that was running on high short interest. Let me see. Uh, Kirk, right? Kirk was another one that was running today, isn't it? Yeah, it was another one that was running today. I mean, it's not as crazy. Obviously, not every single play is gonna run like what KSS did, right? But you can see the idea, right? The idea of the move is there, right? The idea of the move is there. Why? Because this Kirk also have a pretty high short float, right? So this induces a new theme in the market, okay? And with new theme in the market, that also will be introduced with new uh new stocks to trade, and it was kind of disregard, right? It will kind of disregard, the other tickers that we have in the morning. Now, I would say that one thing for this is for sure is that when we look at this morning's move, right, there was a lot of pretty good tickers, and then suddenly, 5 minutes or 10 minutes before market open, this ticker started to run like that. You see, right, 5 10 minutes before market open, this ticker started to run like that. So it becomes very it becomes very spread it out, right? We have a lot more options to trade, and things becomes a little bit more trickier to move around. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why going to open, I told you guys, you know what? I'm not gonna fight the trend. Remember, we closed off the IVF, right? I'm not gonna fight the trend. I'm just gonna wait to open, and then we'll see where the volume goes. Now, obviously, moves like this are not sustainable, right? Because remember, these are all very heavy floaters, right? So you can see clearly this thing went all the way down. If you chase this, you're gonna get hurt. Okay, so that's not good. All right, so that's why I didn't really chase the move over here, because I mean I wouldn't trade this on a normal basis, but when they pull back, then we might see some volume rotate back into our normal tickers, which we can trade, which is why PRZ, DFLI, um they're not what's that? Low high short flow interest tickers, but we got nice moves. Why? Because the short flow tickers in the morning was pulling back after the profit taking. Right? So we can kind of let these non-short flow tickers breathe a little bit, which we caught both of it, right? So that was good. But then after that, when they start to show recovery, like PLCE as well, then you don't get to see much continuation after, because volume is distributed right now. Everyone is at the starting point. But anyways, I'm saying this PLCE, we're making new highs over here. So long as we continue to hold on to this structure, I would say room to like 8 plus. Okay, next level is gonna be 740 first, and then $8, right? But take your profits on the way up. Very nice play on this. Okay. Second. Pretty much, right? That's pretty much one of the reasons why um I was really focused on, right. I didn't want to chase the high short interest tickers because again they're not sustainable, right? So I focused on PRZ because first off, this thing was just trending really nicely, no signs of breakdown. Everything else was dying, right? Everything else was literally dying. So took my entries at 116, stop loss under $1, right? Which is this uptrend over here that we have. And then price slowly grinded up, right above the 21 EMA trend line. Okay, and we got a nice move to 180 over here. Yeah, and then after that, DFLI, initially speaking, we got some nice, I would say, dips to like 55 and then bounced back up to 60s, right? But then it broke down way too hard because PRG had a lot of the volume. Remember, these two tickers were our only momentum movers at the point of time, right? As I said that. So after that, I closed my position, and then over here we started to form a tweezer bottom. Price reclaimed the VWAP over here, all right, and bounced off it again. I took my entries at 50 cents. Stop loss was under 46, as mentioned, right? Let's show you guys this. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There we go. There we go. All right. Stop loss is another 46. And first level is going to be 55 cents because you can clearly see, this is where there's heavy rejections over here. And then, but once we broke this 55 cents, right, price went all the way up to that level here, and then obviously we have huge rejection over here on this level on the intraday chart. This is not something that you guys do not know. This is not something that you guys need to go to the daily chart to see. You guys just draw a simple line across. You can see this is tough. Right? Now we did break out and make new highs over here, but then price went all the way down. And then, possibly we might see a much bigger move on this. But again, right, throughout the midday session, we started to see reversals on the short interest stocks, right? Like PLCE, like KSS, like Kirk, like Lucid, right? And all these tickers, they are very heavy in flow. So they need a lot of momentum, they need a lot of volume, which is probably one of the reasons why we're not seeing it flow as much, for the post-lunch type of moves. Because it's spread it out. All right. If there isn't any volume in open, right? I mean, this 1 billion shares been traded. It has to go somewhere. The money. You know what I mean? This money over here has to go somewhere. Right? It could go to DFL, it could go to KSS, but for today, right? I mean, this is still trapping a lot of volume, right? And not only just this, right? Even fucking KSS. Come on, this is a $14 stock. All right. And we average it up, this is around 15 and shit. And this is trading at 202 million shares. It's more than EDF, okay, not more than DFLI, but money-wise, it's a lot more, but it's more than PRZ. So volume is pretty stuck in the high interest place for sure. Right, so that's pretty much one of the reasons why I'm not really focusing on anything, or I'm not trying to force anything and stuff, because I just don't see any way. There's just way too much volume trap in these tickers that requires a lot of attention. Right, so it is what it is. I mean, we get certain tickers like PAPL doing stuff like this, but hey, look, this thing halts up, halts down. The volume over here, impossible for me to trade. Way too small, way too spready. I can't touch that. All right, it's impossible for me. Okay, so yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a pretty decent day. It was definitely distracted by the short float tickers, right? But we still caught some nice ones, right, on PLCE and stuff. I wanted to trade Kirk, but this one just felt a little bit heavy, I didn't want to touch it. So PLC was a lot better, right? We also had the 200 EMA triple retest on this, right? And then we have a post-lunch VWAP reclaim. So that's why I love this setup a lot. And that's also one of the reasons why, right? I decided to pick PLC over Kirk. You see, again, you can perform, right? This is like 4 minutes after lunch ended, and it was already reclaiming the VWAP over here. All right. So you see, you can perform multiple analysis, right? You can perform it on Kirk and stuff, it might tell you, hey, this is breaking downtrend, but if you're using your technical analysis on the wrong tickers, it's not gonna do anything for you. Yeah. All right. So pretty straightforward day. Now let's talk about open. Now, do I think this is done? No. Right. I think meme plays do not die that easily, right? As I mentioned, if you look at what Carvana is doing, all right, especially if I use this as a model, because this was potentially one of the squeeze stock that happened. Right, this ticker went insane, right? If we look at the price over here, let's say the squeeze happened on this note, right? Going from $7 to $20. That's pretty crazy, you know what I mean? That's pretty insane. But then from here it did go all the way down to $6 for a couple of months, right? For a couple of months before it started going up again. But every shift that it did, right? The pivot all happened during earnings. The pivot, right? Look, the pivot all happened during earnings. Look at this, right? You see there's a gap up, right? Look at this over here. There's another gap up, right? I think this one over here, another gap up. You see that from $49 to $60. You see what I mean? So it's not the meme play can only take a play up so much, right? Can only take a play up so much. But if the company does start to fundamentally recover or show signs of recovery, then I do think that this thing might have some bit of chance to recover. Maybe people are saying this is the next Carvana. Maybe it could. I mean, short interest is there, right? But what's important over here right now is that we need to see what this earnings says on the 5th of August, which is in 2 weeks' time. Yep, which is going to happen in 2 weeks' time. Should be pretty interesting over here. Now, for me, we could guess dips, but then there's 2 weeks, right? There's be a chance of 2 weeks of this continuing to fall all the way. All right. So for me, I wanted to see whether if price can go back inside this gray box over here, right, for some entries, right? Um, because it has to cool down after such an impressive 600% rally over the past few weeks. All right, it will need to cool down. Again, it's not sustainable, but I'm trying to wait to see whether we can get that dip over here. All right, if not, but I'll still keep my watch list on this. Because if I do see a nice little move on over here, right? If I see a potential bottom reversal, man, I don't mind putting just some money inside. It doesn't have to be heavy. And if it does actually squeeze on the earnings, I mean, if this thing does actually start to form a foundation on the move up, we could ride it. If really this thing starts to recover, we could ride it. I understand that this business model over here, it's I don't really fully understand it. Again, because I'm trading this, I never really did any research on this. I don't plan to invest in this. But I understand that this thing does something with real estate. And recently their X profile has become very active as well, right? So, there might be something cooking behind the scenes. I think this one over here, if the interest rates does actually drop, should help this business a lot. One of the reasons why this one kind of failed back then was because of the increase of interest rates, and then this entire business model kind of fucking died. And it was pretty hyped up back then, I would say. This sticker was pretty fucking hyped up back then. All right, there's a reason why it went up like that. But after that, it just couldn't. The increase of interest rates, kind of destroyed the business model. But you can see it was pretty decent. I mean, it was the start of COVID, right? It was a COVID company. So it maybe ran during the COVID period as well, right? That could attribute to that growth. But it's like Palantir and all the other companies too, isn't it? Oh damn, the bell is heavy. It's like Palantir and all the other companies as well started back in COVID. See that, right? Started back in COVID. You see the similarities? Obviously, again, I'm not trying to compare like chart is the same means that both companies' performance is the same, right? But look at this over here. COVID company went up and then go all the way down, then started to recover. Obviously, with the company backing up the financial numbers, right? So that's why I would say that people are saying that this thing could squeeze and stuff. You can see it's the same thing. COVID company price go up, now price goes down. Maybe in the next whatever years, I don't know. Maybe this thing goes up crazy. But what's important is for this earnings on the 5th of August to really blow up. Now I could wait till then, and then let me see, where is this gonna happen over here? It's aftermarket. Is it aftermarket? 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, it's aftermarket. So maybe, before market close on the 5th of August, right? Before market closes, maybe at 3:59, I'll take some just to see whether the earnings pushes this up. Because there's a high chance that earnings can dump this down too. The earnings ain't great. You know what I mean? So, but as of now, right? As of now, this is purely speculative. It's just a meme run. That's all. That's what it is, right? It's a short squeeze. It's a meme run. That's it. All right. Nothing. People are saying this thing's gonna go to $82, $50 and stuff. This is what people say when they're trying to pump shit. Okay. So yeah, don't. There's nothing. There's really for now. There's nothing. But I would just because of how evenly similar this thing is to Kavana and also to Palantir's chart pattern. Like I said, I don't mind trying putting some money inside this ticker, just in case. Just in case it does a um move, right? Just in case it doesn't move from earnings. But if it doesn't, all right, I'll just cut it. It's fine. But for now, I'm still waiting to see if we can get that pullback into this gray box over here. Okay. All right. So let's get some questions in right now. If you guys have any questions you guys want answered, please type it out as well. Regarding any of the plays that happened today too, that's completely fine. How would you look at KSS as XAIR? Again, I think I told you guys, I told you before, KSS is not something I would touch. It's way too expensive and way too much of a heavy floater for me. So I wouldn't touch it. XAIR. I don't know why, what happened. I think this thing had news in the morning. Yeah, so you see, generally I do not touch tickers like this. Okay, there's no structure, right? It's nothing. Now you can say, because this is a low floater, maybe when it has news 2 weeks later, it could pop up again like this. All right, but there's a chance that it might not. So to me, I would say that is it worth a day trade? No, right? If you're trying to swing this, I mean you could, right? But some of these plays they might just completely slowly bleed down and stuff. So I don't know. Right. For me, I'm just not really comfortable with touching tickers like this. What do you think open goes from here? It's hard to say. I do think I just explained the entirety of everything just now, right? Okay, if we're actually in here. Yeah. So if you nobody will know where it's gonna go from here. Okay, but I would say that one of the key catalysts that will really cement this to see if this is really worth a long-term move and whatnot, it's going to be this earnings coming up. But if the earnings over here reports bad, then this is going to drop and people are going to forget about this. Life is going to go on. There will be another meme ticker that people will talk about. All right. But for now, this is just not something that is, it's hard to say where this is going to go from here. Right? It's obviously hard to say. If I knew where this is going to go from here, I'm going to full port, but I don't know. All I know is that the earnings is very important, right? The upcoming earnings is very, very important for this to cement whether this is actually worth whether this could actually be a quality play or is this just one of those meme play that's completely died off. Right? Take AMC for example. Okay, right? Those the 2020 GME AMC squeeze. Um, right? We take this for example. Right? You can see it's not sustainable. Look at that. Right? Sure, the meme run was great. All right, the meme run was great. Right? The meme run was insane. Right? But if the company itself doesn't perform, I mean, how long is it going to sustain? Right? It doesn't make sense for a company to keep going up just because retail is interested in it. Okay, the company itself has to do good, right? If not, it will follow suit. Same thing for GME as well. All right, same thing for GME as well. Okay, it was a nice squeeze, but eventually it will have to stop. Right? Eventually this will have to stop. So same thing, right? We don't talk about how big the squeeze was, but we talk about whether this thing is sustainable. That's all. All right, so it all depends on the earnings. Okay. All right, and I wouldn't know what the hell is going to happen to earnings. So by the way, by the way, PRZ we're getting some very nice flow in after hours. I'm still having the rest of my shares. Maybe we could hit new highs over here. Very nice flow. If you're following Tyrone, do we just wait until he tells us what to do? Yeah. If you're following Tyrone, then you can follow his targets. What does he want? Uh, he wanted what? 880, right? So you just have to wait for 880. Now, you have to understand that for me and Tyrone, our style is very different. Okay. The reason why he can't really take profits at such a small move is because his risk is very wide. He has a $1.45 risk. So if this thing goes all the way to 690, it's not profitable for him to take it because it doesn't make sense. He's risking 145 and he takes a 40 cents move. It doesn't make sense. It should be the other way around, right? So same thing for me. All right, same thing for me. You can see that my plan for PRC is very different. PLC is very different. 620 entry, but my stop loss is 595. It's not $5. So it's okay for me to be taking this move over here because I have a very small risk. But for him, it's different. So the trading plan is different, right? So if you did follow his trading plan to have stops underneath this, then you have to respect his plan. For me, I have my own plan. Right? I could size in a lot bigger because I only have a 20 cents risk max. Right? But for him, he can't size in that big, right? But if he wants to size in normal, he also has to respect a normal move to the upside, something of equivalent moves over here. Okay, so yeah, all right. It's you have to follow, right? But it's up to you. If you don't want to follow, look, see, guys. At the end of the day, this is your own money, right? If you feel like you want to secure profits and stuff, please go ahead. It's your money, okay? Yeah. But just saying, my plan and Tyrone's plan is very different because of how wide of a risk we are both taking. I'm taking a very small risk. I'm trading on an intraday level. He's looking probably more for a longer time frame. I don't know, right? I don't know what his plan is, right? But my plan is a short-term type plan where I was looking on the intraday setup, right? And I'm trading on the intraday setup. And then if we close strong, I'll swing the rest. But otherwise, mine's still an intraday setup. KSS potential, no. It's too heavy. I don't think it's gonna happen. Okay. Can you explain volume and free float in general? Volume is basically the amount of shares which is being traded. Free float just basically means the amount of shares that's available for the public to buy and sell. That's all. Do high short interest tickers run majority of the time? Only if the theme is there, right? High short interest doesn't mean it's gonna run. If there's no volume, then it's not gonna go. You know what I mean? Right? What's there to squeeze if there's no volume? You know? But because the theme open happened to start that trend, so there is that's why these movers are getting that potential squeeze type move. But volume is still key, right? Volume is still key. Because if there's no volume, what's that? What are you squeezing? You know what I mean? If there's no volume, what are you squeezing? No, no. For me, I don't have multiple. Okay, the max I can do is two positions, right? Two active positions. That's it. So when I'm in a trade, right, I can only do two trades that I can actively manage. That's it. Three is a little bit too much for me. If it's three momentum movers, I can't do it. But if it's two, then it's still fine for me. Right, but three I can't. Any new entries or PRs, nothing. I'll probably just wait till tomorrow. Your daily target 500. Yeah. Huh. Any new entries? Nope. I don't see nothing. I'll probably just wait till tomorrow. Is it a slow after hours again? Seems like it's a slow after hours again, right? I think yesterday was pretty slow as well. No, I don't see nothing. Seems like I mean, maybe SSKN could do something over here. But yeah, like I said, the theme is starting to shift a little bit to the high short interest tickers. So, we're definitely seeing a change in the structure. That's all.